Good evening. This is Ronald Kretz, graduate student for Lamar University in Educational Administration. And what I am providing for you today is the video of me leading a lecture to my colleagues and principal and athletic trainers in the topic or on the topic of sports injuries. It was my role given to me by my principal during an in-service date in order to formulate a concept or an idea which the coaches would benefit from. And what I decided to do was, since sport injuries is such a hot topic in our school system and in other school systems across the state, and the legality of all these issues that come about with sports injuries, I thought it was important as a coaching staff to refresh our memory of what we learned in college, what we've learned from the University Interscholastic League requirements, and also from our American Red Cross classes that we have to take as coaches. And with that information, I led the lecture/discussion on sports injuries from a coach's perspective. And then we had the head athletic trainer, Marty Castillo, step in and give us his perspective from the sports medicine side of things. And altogether, the coaches are very receptive of the information, and it would be good for us to follow up with this on a yearly basis, especially in the summer before school starts. The feelings I had prior to this lecture was nervousness, because here I am, one of the fellow coaches who's trying to advance their career in the school leadership program by becoming a principal. And I was nervous. I was somewhat fearful of what my fellow colleagues would think about me, and kind of intimidated a little bit by the principal being at this in-service. And during the whole thing, once I got up there and started talking, it was just like teaching. Once you get going, you just let it flow. You try to lead the discussion in the best manner possible, and try to get some student interaction. In this case, the students were the coaches. The principal is very helpful during the in-service. He even, as an ex-coach himself, he added his thoughts as a principal, as a campus leader, and also his thoughts from when he was coaching. Once we got going, everything flowed along pretty easily. What would I have done differently? Well, for one, I would have asked the principal for my lecture/discussion or in-service presentation to be earlier in the morning and not the last thing on the agenda. Other thing that I would have done is I probably would have prepared more diligently in the aspect of attention getters. By the end of the day, on a Friday afternoon, the coaches are ready to leave, just like students are. They've sat in their chairs all day long, listening to different topics, and the last thing they wanted was this coach trying to get a class credit for his graduate degree. But they were very professional. They sat there, they listened, they discussed, they nodded their heads in agreement, and overall was a good experience. But in future reference and mental notes that I'm making on this is that I need to do a much better job of presenting to my colleagues, because they're just like students. You need to get their attention, grab their attention, lead them in the discussion, keep them motivated with thought-provoking questions, and keep them engaged. The analysis that I have on this program that I provided for the coaches that are also teachers is that it's very insightful. It's something that I would recommend for all school districts and all coaching staffs to do prior to each season, especially in the summer when the coaches get there before the kids do. Also, get with the principals of your district and to provide in-service for coaches. Coaches are teachers, and the principals are very adamant about their coaches being in teacher in-service, because especially the core content coaches, because the school test scores are very important to everybody in the community. But if you take it from the perspective that a student's life is more important and that a student athlete's injuries can cause great legal issues within the school system, provide problems for the principal, the sports medicine director, the head coaches, and the coach themselves, then from that point of view, anyone would be able to get their principal to agree for any coach to spend 1 to 2 hours discussing, previewing, and reviewing protocol for sports injuries, whether the team be in town or the team be out of town, and make sure that every coach on staff has their American Red Cross first aid, their American Red Cross CPR, their information and know-how on how to use a defibrillator, and also that each coach meets the requirements presented by the University Interscholastic League in forms of concussion protocol, sports injuries, dehydration, frostbite, heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and not much in Texas, but possibly frostbite. At the conclusion of my presentation, I feel comfortable with information presented. I thought it was very thought-provoking and insightful, although we do probably need to do this at the beginning of the school year and not at the end. But overall, it was a wealth of information presented by the sports information director, which was Marty Castillo, and then he gave that from a sports medicine point of view, and then I followed up from a coach's point of view. And the action plan of what I'd like to do next is, the next time I present this, I'll probably add more pictures, maybe some diagrams and statistics, and also some attention grabbers. And not only will I lecture, which is very boring, I should have known that in the beginning as a classroom teacher. Total lecture is not a very good teaching philosophy, but find ways to get the coaches / colleagues involved in the discussion, maybe some collaboration, get them into groups to come up with their own ideas, and maybe with them and the trainers we can provide and create a protocol that coaches and trainers must follow and get it adopted by the school district, and with this protocol maybe avoid or prevent legal issues in the future. But at the same time, we will be able to provide the utmost care for any sports injury, no matter how minor or major it may be, if we're at home or on the road, because the athletes are the most important product we have in the school system, and we must take care of them the best we can. Capacity crowd, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning. Ron Kretz, I'll be facilitating today's in-service. I'm a graduate intern at Lamar University. Doing my classwork right now, so you'll be on tape for a little bit. Today's professional development, we're going to be on discussing sports injuries. We got Marty Castillo, licensed athletic trainer, EMT, master's in business. He'll be leading our discussion today from an athletic trainer's point of view. And when he's completed that, then I'm going to come from a coach's point of view and give you what we as coaches or instructors can look at as far as playing fields and how we can protect our athletes. Today's in-service, Mr. Castillo talked about an hour. We'll take a break and we'll continue doing that till about lunchtime. And lunch will be from 11:45 to 1. And then afternoon, we'll see what happens. All right? So, Mr. Castillo.
All right. Like Coach said, I'm head athletic trainer. Y'all don't know me, so I want this to be a